Hello there, Pathway students. This is Mrs. Tredo again with video number 2. We're going to delve into our district provided digital resources or databases. I'm going to show you some tutorials on how to use them. And before we get started, there's a 3-minute video here about scholarly versus popular. If your teacher wants to stop me right now and you guys can view this video, just know that it's actually we're talking about what is written by experts in the field for like historians. Those are typically people who are working professors, working researchers, and they're publishing articles in academic peer reviewed journals. And when they say peer reviewed, it means that other scholars have to actually look at what they wrote and accept it. And I think the statistics are that out of all of the articles that get submitted by higher level academics to be published in these journals, only I think 20% of the articles actually are accepted. So it has to be accurate. So if you find something that's written in a peer-reviewed journal, you know that you're going to have accurate information. So the last video that we talked about, when you're out there just in the wild west of the wild web, what do I do when I find something? How do I evaluate? If you simply use our district provided digital resources and databases that already are, you just check a button that says show me only scholarly or peer reviewed articles. It's going to help you because you'll know that, hey, this is a good source and I'm on my way. So we'll keep going for a minute. Let's see. Okay, so what I wanted to show you now is that we have our online databases here. Colleges, when you get like even Sierra College right now, you guys have, especially those of you in the middle college or dual enrollment, you have access to Sierra College, their library as a student. So they have more databases than we do as a district. But I feel like you got to start small. You got to figure out how to use our stuff. And then when you go onto their stuff, it's super easy. And I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to use what we have. So we only have 2 databases for all the campuses, but the state of California provides us with another one. So I'm going to take you guys on a tour of 3. And remember, this is a world history, world studies, social studies thing. So I'm going to be using a lot of social studies topics, but some of these databases you're going to notice you could be researching psychology. You could be doing a lot more, even science or even math. Believe it or not, you can find some resources in these databases. So the one thing I want to make sure that everybody's aware of as you're watching this is that we have a sheet here, and it's all of the database information. One thing when you go to use the database or the digital resources, make sure that you're logged in using your RJUHSD Google account, especially when you do the ones for the state of California, because it's directly linked to your Google account. So if you're working from home, just go ahead and log into your Google account and then open up another tab and then go ahead and log in, and it should recognize you right away. There are usernames and passwords for all of these. We have 3. I'm going to take you on a tour of ABC Clio, and then we're going to use Gale, which is our second one, and then we're going to use ProQuest, which is the free one from the state of California. I like ABC Clio first, and here's actually how to get in. So there's a URL, and there's the username and password. They are conveniently the same. I love that. But I'm going to go over here to ABC Clio. The thing I like about ABC Clio, a couple of things. First thing is that this is specifically for social science. So we don't subscribe to anything as a district for other subjects. So we don't have just an English database, or we don't have a science one, but we do have one dedicated to social science. And I think it's just because our social science teachers are awesome. I used to be one. Anyways, so when you get to ABC Clio, there's a lot of different databases. So if you're in world, so we're going to just uncheck this all databases, because let's say that you're really studying something in world history. Maybe you're looking at World War One. Let's just say um, you could go in here, world history, the modern era. And if I'm looking for World War One, probably if I clicked on World at War, that might help me. And then perhaps I want to look up not Marco's Pizza, but maybe I want to look up nurses in World War One. Let's just see what I find. Just if I do that, okay. The nice thing about ABC Clio is it will show you, oh, this database, there's 20 resources and there's only 6 in world history, the modern era. So when you search in ABC Clio, you're not going to find too much stuff. So that's one thing that's limiting about it, but that's also good. Because you remember in the last video, I talked about students getting just overwhelmed. So we're going to go to World at War. I'm going to click on that. So you're going to see, and we could also sort. Maybe you want, let's see here, you want to filter it because you only want a photo. And look, there's only one. So if you apply, you're going to see this photo right here of soldiers treated for shell shock, right? You know that this is not fake because it's been put into this database, right? So you don't have to go through and do a reverse image search like we talked about the last one. You can, it's kind of fun, but you'll know that this is actually credible information that you're finding here in this particular one. And again, we don't really have that much stuff. If you get stuck like this and you're like, all right, well, what am I going to do? You always go here to advanced. I always tell students, you're advanced anyways. You need to search like everything. So if I went and I said, I want to look at World War One nurses, right? And I want to find everything. Maybe I want documents, I want topics, I want it all, right? I could click on everything. But say you were looking for a speech, and only a speech that talked about the nurses and their contribution, right? You would actually uncheck these other boxes and you would just go speeches. So you have to click search at the bottom. Okay. And here's a whole bunch of stuff about, and there's our picture that we had from before, right? And we can look here. All right, well, I'm looking for Army nurse, right? The Army Nurse Corps, World War One and American women, and women. There's not a lot, but there's a little bit. The one thing I do like about ABC Clio as well, I'm going to get completely out of the search. I'm just going to go back to the home. I'm going to scrap that thing. So if I'm looking at time periods, which I could do. All right. I want to go to the World at War. I want to go there. There's World War One right here. So say you're thinking like, oh, I want to, I like World War One, but I need to write a paper about it. But you're kind of overwhelmed with like, well, what do I want to actually focus on? I do like this because the first thing is that it gives you an overview. It gives you the need to know. The other thing that's great is you can listen. So it will read the page to you. I love that. It also translates. So you can select languages and then it will, you can translate it into Russian if that's easier for you. And the other thing you can do is I hate to print because that, kills the trees, but you can also email it. You can get a link to this article. You can also, if you save it, right, you can save it into your Google Drive. So I always do that whenever I'm working on something for a project for a subject for school. I will create my own folder that's titled like World War One resources, and then I find things and I dump it in the folder. Especially if I'm working in a group project, I'll do that. I'll get a shared folder with everybody, and then we dump all of our stuff in there, and then we look through it later. So I like that for that reason. And let's say you're like, okay, I want to look at Russia during World War One, right? I want to look more specific. The other thing too, I like that there's just links about things in here that you can click on, right? The other thing too is there's some facts and there's some figures that it will give you. Gives you a lot of information, and it also gives you the MLA citation, but it also would give you all of, so if you had Chicago, which, Turabian, or you had APA, it'll tell you how to cite that. It already has it done. So I love World at War, and I love ABC Clio for that reason. So if you have a broad topic in social science, this one is good. I do like it. I will tell you guys a little bit of the downside of it. The downside is that the reading level tends to be a little bit higher. And I know that students always say, well, shouldn't I just be reading at this awesome level? A lot of times for me, if I'm looking for sources and I'm sifting through a lot of information, sometimes I like things that are at an easier reading level to where I can peel through and I can pour through and read it quicker and gather more things. If I have to slow down what I'm doing because it's a higher reading level for me, sometimes that's not always the best plan of attack. So that's one thing. The other thing I do think that you can do when you listen to this is I think you can speed up the reading. You can make it slow, you can make it fast, right? So sometimes that's a benefit too, because if you're the type of person that you're an auditory learner and you can just quickly gather that information, if somebody's speaking really fast, you pick it all up, you can go through stuff at a quicker pace. Say you're a person that likes to listen, but you need it to be slower paced, you can actually make it slow. And you can just change the text color, and we can make the word colors really bizarre, and sentence color and underline things, and we can do all sorts of cool stuff in this particular article. um, so that's it for ABC Clio. And remember, whenever you're searching in ABC Clio, you can just go back to the home. They've got some success stuff on just stuff I already taught you in the last video, but feel free to look in there. It's really great. And they also have a how to use the database. So if you don't like me teaching you how to use it, you can click on there and they will teach you how to use it. So the experts at ABC Clio, I'm really excited too, because I believe that ABC Clio is getting they have another database that syncs with it's an ethnic studies database, and I'm really excited about that, and I'm hoping that we purchase that as a district. So that's just a little bit about ABC Clio. So we're going to stop now. So if you're just wanting to show students this particular part of ABC Clio, you're done, right? But we're going to start up now with we're gonna go to Gale, which is our next place. As a student, Gale is amazing. The one thing that I think, and this is our second subscription, is Gale. The thing I love about Gale is that it works for your English, it works for science, it covers all the disciplines. And I love that we have the opposing viewpoints, because opposing viewpoints is really great for controversial topics. You're probably not encountering much of that in US history or in world studies. But if you had like an English class, I had an English class that had to do, what's the number one roadblock for people achieving the American dream? And you go to opposing viewpoints, there's a whole list of stuff by topic, and you could just click on that topic and learn about it. So for history, I would say we would want to go to Gale in Context High School. Okay. So here we are. This is what it looks like. And we have awesome stuff. But remember, I tell you guys you're awesome. Let's do an advanced search. Okay. Um, and I'm gonna keep with our theme of World War One and nurses, just because I like that topic. I'm gonna teach you a couple of tricks when you go to search. These operators here, these are called Boolean operators. They're named after this guy named Boole from like the 1800s. You history people would love that. But if I'm talking about World War One, I might go ahead and put that in quotes because it is a phrase. So oftentimes what students will do is they'll just put World War, right, one, and a whole bunch of stuff will come up. World War Two, World War One. There's war, the Korean War. There's all sorts of stuff that will pop up. But if you put things in quotes, it knows it's a phrase, and the computer knows that it needs to search for that. And I want to do nurses. And the other thing, keyword, say you're looking for something specific, right? You want to talk about like there's a person. Maybe you know a nurse from World War One. Maybe it's Florence Nightingale, right? So if you typed in Nightingale, and that would you could specify it and make it more narrow. Okay. But I'm going to keep keyword because I'm looking for the broad general stuff. I want to see how many results we can get just using Gale. And nurses, but we can also do a limiter. We can say not soldiers. Okay. Because we're not looking at World War One soldiers. We're looking just at nurses, right? And the other thing that's cool is we can add a row. We could also add, maybe we add anesthesia. If I knew how to spell it, it would help. And that's the other thing. You got to spell correctly. So anesthesia. Ah, and it put it in quotes for me. Okay, so I want to have all of this stuff. If I put or anesthesia, I might find articles about World War One nurses and then other articles about anesthesia not even connected to World War One. So you have to be careful in how you use your limiters, right? I'm gonna just go ahead and look at this peer-reviewed journals. We talked about that at the beginning of the video. If I click on that, we're only going to find things that are peer-reviewed. Okay, that's going to limit it a little bit. But let's just go ahead and we could actually go publication date. Like maybe your teacher tells you, hey, I want something that's just from this like last 5 years. That way you can go in and say, okay, well, I want anything that was written after 2020, right? Or 2019. So I'm not going to do that because I want to see all the dates. I want to see everything, right? Maybe I only want to look at websites or I only want to look at primary sources as a history person. I could click on that. I'm not going to do that though because I want to see everything. The other thing, cool, the Lexile measure, that's the reading level. So I could say, hey, I don't want anything that's challenging to read. Let's filter that down. So you have a lot of options when you use this particular database. So let's just search and see what we get. No results. So obviously I've gone a little bit too narrow. So if that happens, I can go in and I can revise it. Maybe I just went too cray-cray when I talked about anesthesia. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to leave that blank. Let's see what we find now. Now I found more stuff. So that's the thing when you're searching. You might go too narrow, right? But you don't want to go too broad. There's kind of that sweet spot in between. So here's what we have. This is a good workable amount of stuff. We've got 10 things. We've got a couple of critical essays. And we're talking about Hemingway right here. This is kind of interesting. I was just noticing his book over in the book room across the way over here at Independence. So one thing we could do, we could look here at this one, right? We can see the year. We can see the reading level. These colored things that look like dominoes, that's the reading level. So the different colors indicate how challenging it is to read. Just know that anything in Lexile that's over 1500 is going to be high school level reading. So if you want something that's more newspapers, they tend to be written at like a 7, in between 7 and 900 because newspaper articles are meant for people to be able to read things very quickly, right? Very consumable. So I'm going to click on this. I'll just pick this one. Okay. Similar to ABC Clio, we can actually send it to the drive. We can download it. We can print it. We don't want to do that. We also can translate. I do believe that Gale, you can translate. There are more languages. So that's good. Um, However, you can display it differently. Got a neurodiverse, you can do the dyslexic font. Just know that everybody's brain's a little different. So this font here is actually proven that people who are neurodiverse, they actually can ingest this easier and have better comprehension if they're using this type of font. So I like that. You can also listen to it, and it will play it. And then if you go into this little wheel, it's very similar to ABC Clio. You can do the same thing with that. The other thing I absolutely love about any article that you find in Gale is you can scroll down. This is a long article. If you scroll down to the bottom, it's got a lot of references, but you can see right here, this is how you cite it in your sources, right? So you could actually take the MLA citation for this and you could put it into your Google Drive, right? So I like it for that. If you happen to have your own account, we don't currently do district ones for like Noodle Tools or EasyBin. If you're an IB student, you might have access to it, but otherwise you don't. But if you have your own personal one, you could also use that. So it's good for that reason as well. And then you can always send it. You can cite it, and it just pops up right there. It's so convenient. So I like that. I'm going to go back to the results though, but I think that's great for Gale. So that's how it works. I think we're ready to move on to our next little stop. The one thing though, why does this say Wood Creek? It's fun. We kind of share everything. But if I go back to the main product menu of Gale, I was going to show you, we have some ebooks in here. We have Cameron's collection. Cameron's collection, they're mental health ebooks, and they're there for you guys. So I had to divert just a little bit. Let me go back here though. So there's a lot of cool stuff. Here's opposing viewpoints. I'll just tell you really fast. I like this because if you're looking for a topic, like your teacher says, hey, we want you to do like these topics, right? Poverty and evolution, esports, animal experimentation, animal rights, bullying, genetic testing. I mean, it just goes on and on. So I like this particular one. So if you ever have to do something about controversy, I would go here. Like when you get to your government class and you have to do a position paper or whatever, this is a great place to go. So just keep that in mind as well. So that is the opposing viewpoints. For world studies, I would search in Gale in Context High School. All right. So now we've done 2. Now we're going to go back to the one that's provided by the state of California. So again, teachers, if you only wanted to show students how to use Gale, you can stop this video now. Otherwise, we're going to keep going. Okay. So ProQuest, and remember, okay, let me copy and paste. I will just give you my experience of why I like ProQuest quite a bit. I was teaching social psychology in 2020, and I was teaching students virtually at a little place called the Roseville, our SVLA, the Virtual Academy of Roseville, that we did during the pandemic. I was the social psychology teacher at the time, and I had students complete a research paper on a particular social psychologist, like it was kind of a biography. And I noticed that with Gale and ABC Clio, there were very, very few resources that students were able to actually pull about their particular social psychologist. So when you get into specific topics and subjects, this is much better. So we're going to go to the ProQuest platform. You got to tell it that you're not a robot. You guys will have to decide whether or not I'm a robot. But there's all the databases here. So you'll notice that the way that they're set up and the search terms and everything, they all look pretty similar, right? I go into advanced search all the time because I'm not basic. Okay. I'm not just some basic person. I gotta delve in there with the knowledge. So let's say let's do our search from last time and see what we find. So World War One, and I'm going to put that in quotes because I don't want to get any other wars stuck in there. Okay, and we're going to go nurses. We're going to add a row and say not soldiers. And we're going to add a row and say and anesthesia. Okay. Now I can limit this to peer-reviewed articles. Where it says full text, sometimes certain articles, they'll only give you the abstract, which is like the introduction. So if you're wanting to make sure you get the whole enchilada, right, you might limit it to full text. But if you're just kind of hunting and finding things, I just open it for everything. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just search this and see, what do I got? What's this going to come up with? Am I going to get more than last time? Remember last time I didn't get any results. Check this out. 39,000. That's a lot of information. So this is why I love ProQuest. I think it's our most robust database to where you can go in and you can find so much stuff. And you can be like me and get just trapped down the rabbit hole. One thing I like is maybe your teacher says, I want some newspaper articles, right? So if we got all of this, I want to just find stuff from newspapers. Okay. And maybe I'm looking heavily at secondary sources. I could do like current things. I could say I want it to be within the last 5 years, right? That's going to cut me down to 4,000 now. Still a lot of stuff to go through. So I need to find a little bit more. I love this on the left that you can do subject, because we could kind of look in and go, all right, well, I definitely want nurses, but I don't want World War II. I don't want books, coronavirus, COVID. Maybe I want pandemic because I want to learn a little bit about that Spanish flu that was going on at the time. I don't want museums either. I'm going to exclude that one. Include means you want to keep it. Exclude means let's not have it. So I'm going to include that. We'll do that. Apply. Okay. So that's going to give us, now we're down to 1,300. That's still a ton of stuff to sift through, right? So we have to actually show, let's do the most recent one first. Let's look there. Okay. And then another thing that we could also do is we could look at specifically women. Okay. So that's going to definitely narrow us down, right? So we found this one here, from public school teacher to decorated First World War nurse, right? The story of England's first fearless lionesses, right? Grandma kept her boots from World War One. So we could probably find, if we're looking for a case study of a particular lady who was a World War One nurse, this could be a cool little article, right? So we could click on it, right? And we know it's coming from a newspaper. So if your teacher is saying, hey, we want you to have some stuff from some newspapers, there you go. I like this too because it gives you suggestions on the right. The female doctors who fought to serve in World War One. How cool is that, right? You think, oh, they were all nurses. There were doctors, right? I'm sure they tried to not let them practice, but anyway, you could really find some cool stuff. One thing I like about this too is it'll tell you a word count. That's awesome. This is from 2022, so it's super current. You can save it as a PDF. You can actually go into all of these options again. You can put it into your Google Drive. You can download it as a PDF. You've got all of the bells and whistles that you had with the other two databases, and you can use it. Okay. So I like ProQuest for that reason. Another thing that you could do too is you can do these indexing terms. Like if you're just looking for, World War One, you could do that. You could search again. You could find other things. This is going to be definitely more broad because I just went to World War One through an index search. But if you figure out, oh, I don't like that, you can just go in and modify it and go, okay, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go to advanced, right? The other thing, if we just go back to the beginning of ProQuest, let's see. It does give you like some help. It has some videos, so you can also refer to those as well. Um, what else is good about ProQuest? I like too that if you're looking for a specific article, like say from Sacramento Bee or something like that, you can go into ProQuest. If you have the name of the article, you can find it and you can print it. Okay, I like it for doing that because I know sometimes you're looking for things. Maybe I just want to find a list of books about World War One, so I can search. Right. Oh, Armenian genocide. So you can just go down. Like there's so many different topics here that you can find and you can search. Um, and I will say that when you use these in your class, and you use them to support an argument. You use it for if you're doing a introductory paragraph or you're trying to start with like maybe you have a test and you have to prepare for it and you've got to prove that World War One was devastating for these reasons. You can go in here and you can have some stuff to kind of supplement and help you out. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. We went through and there was a lot of information. So I'm hoping that your teacher chunks this out a little bit. Maybe you guys watch the ProQuest section at the end. You start out with ABC Clio and then stop it and do something else because I know it's overwhelming to have to listen to a lot of information of me talking to you. I'd love to come visit your class. Hopefully, I'll be able to do that at some point. If you have questions, that's the main thing I would tell you is if you have questions, I'm going to go back to our original ask for help, right? But if I back up and go to the beginning of this guy, I have my email and I want to leave that for you all. Here we go. There it is, ztredo at rjuhsd.us. So if you're researching, you're like, I can't get this to work, or I have a topic about this and I need some help, I can help you. Like that's what I love to do. I love to help students. That's why I'm a librarian. So reach out to me, or your teacher can reach out to me and I can find things. Sometimes you're doing something so specific. Maybe you need to delve out into, I have access to the San Jose State resources and databases, and there are thousands. So I can always find you what you're looking for, help you, because sometimes you need a librarian to help you get the right answers, right? That's a famous saying. So anyways, bye students of Pathways. I love helping you guys out and helping your teachers. Have an awesome time doing some research and play around with these databases and or digital resources and let me know what you think and which one is your favorite. All right, bye Pathways.